shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite a ride.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and this is the Movie Pit Podcast, where we talk about all of the big breaking movie news items of the week. We talk about our spotlight trailer of the week, and we will talk about the movies that are coming out, streaming, and in theaters for all your viewing pleasures. We're going to get right to the podcast. There wasn't too much. I mean, it was kind of like it's almost like last week where there wasn't a lot of movie news items, but the movie items, wow, that there were are pretty big themselves. So let's get to our spotlight trailer of the week. However, before we get to it, I do want to mention some of the trailers that came out this week, just very briefly. I haven't done this just because I don't know, I forget and I'm lazy, and again, I'm a bad podcast host. But there are a bunch of trailers that came out this week. All of them are linked down below in the description/show notes area. The first one, again, some of these are just brief. I'm just going to go through briefly and mention what they are so you know what you're looking for or looking at. The Forest Hills. This is the movie with Shelley Duvall, her first movie in a very, very long time that made waves over the weekend that she was going to appear in it. So it's called The Forest Hills. The trailer's finally out there. If anything, I'm pretty sure the driving force for many people to watch this movie will be seeing Shelley Duvall on the big screen again, or on any screen again, because she was good. And then obviously the bad experience in The Shining kind of ruined that. The trailer for A Christmas Story Christmas. This is, of course, a sequel to A Christmas Story. I shouldn't probably reveal this as a podcast host and as an avid movie lover as much as I am, but we'll talk more about this once the movie comes out, because it comes out in a couple weeks. I've never seen A Christmas Story.
Move this man!
There, I said it. Never said it. Never seen it. We'll talk more about that when we get closer to the movie's release. Disenchanted, moving on. Disenchanted, the sequel to Enchanted. They dropped a new trailer that's also dropping sometime very soon on Disney Plus. Spirited, a musical take on the Christmas Carol. That will be appearing on Apple TV with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. It's a musical take on it. It looks fine. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell, but it looks good. And then finally, the trailer that I've been looking forward toward, it's Troll. This is a Norwegian action movie dropping on Netflix on December 1st. We'll talk more about it when it comes out. But I've been looking forward to this since the teaser dropped like earlier this year. It might have even been last year. I don't even remember when it came out, but I know it was pretty sure it was early this year. But it's Troll. It looks very, very good. Very, very good for a Netflix movie as well. The foreign stuff is usually really, really good because the foreign market does a lot of good job for their movies that they end up, selling to Netflix. So this looks very good. This is one of those movies. But the trailer spotlight of the week is, of course, after 13 years, we are finally getting the sequel to Avatar. The first full trailer for Avatar: The Way of Water dropped this week, and it brings us back to Pandora and shows us more of the underwater world of Pandora, while also bringing back our main leads in Sam Worthington, aka Jack Sully, and Zoe Saldana as Neytiri. James Cameron, of course, returns to direct and co-write the movie along with the returning cast members. Besides Worthington and Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Giovanna Ribisi, CCH Pounder, Joel David Moore, and Stephen Lang. Notable new cast members include Kate Winslet, Eddie Falco, Cliff Curtis, Jermaine Clement, Onala Chaplin, Jake Champion, who's playing one of the kids. If you don't know the name, he's playing one of the kids in the movie, and Michelle Yeoh. One of the big things, obviously, the returns of Stephen Lang and Sigourney Weaver. It looks like Lang is playing the same character somehow. It looks like I think he got a Na'vi avatar in between the first movie and this movie, or I don't know what's going on. They haven't really been very open about how he's coming back, but he is back as Quaritch in the movie. But Weaver is interesting because it doesn't look like she's playing Grace, who of course she played in the first movie. It looks like she may be playing one of the kids, and by one of the kids I mean Jake Sully's and Neytiri's kids. And I think it's the kid character that is talking to Jake in the trailer, saying she can hear her. And we're assuming with intercutting shots of her saying that and her interacting with the world, with the animals and just the plant life and everything, that she's probably talking about Iwa, which of course is the basically the mother nature deity of the Na'vi. Maybe, who knows? Maybe that's what she's talking about. But how it's cut in the trailer, it makes it seem like she's probably talking about Iwa, or maybe she's talking about Grace because it's Sigourney Weaver, or maybe she's talking about someone else entirely. Who knows? Everything about the movie is still very tight-lipped. Obviously, you keep hearing me say, I don't know. It's very tight-lipped still. We know it's following Jake and Neytiri raising their children, and then a threat comes in. It looks like it might be the corporation from the first movie again. We do see some very epic battle scenes and some new technology that's being brought in, like a boat opening up, kind of like the toys we used to have as a kid, where it would be like this dome, and then you just open it up in the middle and it'll split open. It's kind of like that. I think we also have some new, sleeker looking mech suits, at least from kind of the quick shots that we were able to see in the trailer. It looks like it looks good. It looks great. If anything, it looks beautiful. If anything can be taken away from Avatar: The Way of Water, it's that it's most likely and it will look extremely beautiful. Obviously, there's been more technological improvements since the last movie, and I saw the re-release in theaters and the clip they showed of the movie, and it looked gorgeous. The underwater stuff looked amazing. And obviously, James Cameron spent the better part of more than a few decades underwater, so he is the man for underwater scenes in Hollywood, apparently. And of course, this is the start of a new trilogy that Cameron has mapped out, so much that they have already reportedly filmed the first act of part 4 for, quote, logistical reasons. Whatever those logistical reasons may be, who knows? But obviously, we're still ways away from that. I'm sure they just want to have something in case they get the go-ahead to make more Avatar movies, and they're like, well, we got this going on, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But obviously, we got to get to part 2. The other big thing, which I believe was last week, or maybe it came out over the weekend, I can't remember exactly when it came out. We didn't talk about it on the podcast. The runtime for Avatar: The Way of Water is a whopping 3 hours and 10 minutes. Yes, you heard me, 3 hours and 10 minutes. Which Cameron literally, when the runtime was released, was quoted saying, quote, "I don't want anybody whining about length when you sit and binge watch for 8 hours." That's the end of the quote. Now, granted, I have 2 points here. Cameron's other epic, Titanic, was 3 hours and 14 minutes, and the first Avatar was 2 hours and 42 minutes. So, both long movies. Avatar: The Way of Water going to be 4 minutes shorter than Titanic, which people sit through and we love. And yes, we have a binge way of watching things now, but we, the viewer, we also have the option to get up and pause whatever we're watching and not worry about missing something. Whereas we go to the movie theater, we can't just pause the movie or ask them to pause the movie so we can all, get up and collectively take a pee. No. And we also have other people around us who we have to consider. You can't just be standing up and going in and out of the aisles without that person who you're walking through potentially thinking you're an a-hole for getting up constantly. Now, that said, if the movie's good, enthralling, and thoroughly engaging, then the length probably won't be a problem. If not, then we'll definitely feel the length. And I'll be honest, movie lengths have never really bothered me. At times, I don't even know how long a movie is, because the last thing I want to do is be mindful how long a movie is, and God forbid look on my watch to see how much time is left. I don't want to do that. That's not why I go to the movies, and that's not why I watch a movie. When I'm watching a movie, my focus is on that. I don't even pick up my phone. I'm gonna be honest, even if I'm at home, I don't pick up my phone. If we have to pause the movie for whatever reason, then we gotta pause it and then I'll look at my phone. But I don't look at my phone when I'm watching a movie for the first time. That's not what I do. People will say they're easily distracted. Yeah, not me. If I'm going to watch something new, I'm engaged. I'm locked in. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at other stuff. Laptops closed, phones flipped upside down. Someone texted me, they're going to have to wait. That's really how it is. And then in the theater, it's, obviously I'm not looking at my phone because I'm not inconsiderate. We're in a dark room. I'm not going to pull out my phone, even if the brightness is all the way down. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pull it out. But anyway, what I was saying, lengths of movie never bothered me. It's, but recently I have become more aware, especially near the end of movies, where I know where a movie's long, where I know that I'm starting to get uncomfortable in my seat. And I don't know, maybe it's the movie seat or maybe it's just the way I'm sitting, whatever. Will that happen with The Way of Water? Hopefully not. I also know that it's become a trend now for people saying, especially when it comes to Avatar, name the main characters. Like, that is the be-all, end-all of how a movie has staying power, if we can name the characters after years. Like, not everybody, myself included from time to time, can't name a director or actor's names. That happens. I get it. But I run a podcast. So, and I'm fairly good with names and faces. And if I don't know that person's name, I know their faces, and I know what other projects they have been. And I'm not one of those people that calls, unless I'm like joking around, but I'm not one of those people who calls like actor's name by a character that is the only thing they know from a movie X amount of years ago. And you can't name a single other person from said movie. Like that thing, like, yes, you know, I've always liked Avatar. Always. I always thought I enjoyed it. Do I think about it all the time like some of my other favorite movies? No. Probably not, because I've seen a lot of movies in that time. But that doesn't mean I don't like it anymore or think it's a failure. Because if anything, you cannot say Avatar was a failure or is a failure. That made Brinks trucks of money. That made studio and building making levels of money. Because obviously the technology they had at the time was pretty groundbreaking. And when I saw the re-release, they went up and touched up a lot of stuff, and it looked so much better. So I'm not going to get on the bandwagon and be like, oh, Avatar's not that good. No, I'm not going to get on the bandwagon. Is it like other movies we've seen? Yes, of course it is. But, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not a fan of Avatar. Like, no. And I'm not going to, get into an argument with someone who's like, oh, name me the main characters. Like, no, shut up. That's not how a movie has staying power. You're an idiot if you think that's the case. I'm sorry if anyone thinks that, but you are. Anyway, back to the movie. Avatar: The Way of Water opens on December 16th. We'll talk more about it once we get closer to the release date. And there you go. Avatar: Way of Water. Looks good. Everything looks beautiful. Let's get to the movie news items of the week. All right, a little bit of just a small quick-fire movie news item. Mads Mikkelsen and his Hannibal TV series creator Bryan Fuller are set to reunite on Dust Bunny. Fuller will produce, write, and make his directorial debut on the movie, which will follow an 8-year-old girl who believes that a monster lurking under her bed ate her family. She then turns to her, quote, intriguing neighbor for help to kill the monster. Mikkelsen is presumably playing the neighbor in the movie, and I'm sure they'll probably have a Hannibal reference or two now that he's in the movie. And Bryan Fuller finally making his directorial debut after producing and writing a lot of hit series, obviously Hannibal being one of them. Really, really cool. Moving on. Paramount Pictures, Bad Robot, and Toho have found a director and writer for their live-action remake of the anime film Your Name. The original 2016 animated fantasy romantic drama was a huge hit, not just in Japan, but here in the States as well. Remake talks started almost immediately when they started taking over the box office. Then J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot got involved, and now we have a writer and director in Carlos Lopez Estrada. Lopez Estrada is currently rewriting the remake script, which was written originally by Eric Hessier, who was one of the writers, or the writer on Arrival. The movie follows two teenagers who discover they are magically and intermittently swapping bodies. When a disaster threatens to upend their lives, they must journey to meet and save their worlds. Lopez Estrada is known for his films Blind Spotting, Summertime, and arguably his most notable movie is Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. He is also reportedly working on the live-action adaptation of Disney's Robin Hood. I shamefully have never watched Your Name. I actually was going to go at one point when it first, I think it was like the second week it opened, because all the first week shows were filled up. Even the ones during the week, they were just like selling out. Theater after theater, and shows after shows were selling out. So I was like, okay, I'll just wait for like the second or third week, and then just stuff got in the way. I never watched it, and that's just kind of what happened. And now that this is back in the news, this just immediately shot up to my watch list because I do want to watch it. I've heard so many good things about Your Name, and I never got a chance to watch it, and I'm ashamed of that. And now I get to fix that because of this. And they're getting the remake done. It's got Paramount's Bad Robot. Toho is also involved, which I believe were involved in the the Japanese release. So more power to them for they're obviously not going to try to ruin it, because obviously it made them a lot of money, and it has a lot of love even to this day. Moving on, Universal Pictures' The Fall Guy, based on the 80s TV show, has added a great addition to their cast in Stephanie Sue from I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. From Everything Everywhere All at Once, she plays the Michelle Yeoh's daughter in the movie. So she's been added to that cast. She now joins Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and Aaron Taylor Johnson. The original TV show followed a stuntman who, on the side, was also a bounty hunter. The movie will change it up a bit. It will still keep the stuntman aspect, but Gosling, who was playing the stuntman, is now a battered and past his prime, who finds himself back on a movie with a star from whom he doubled long ago and who replaced him. The wrinkle is that the movie star has gone missing, and I'm assuming that he has to, track down and find him. Like I mentioned, Gosling will play the lead stuntman. Emily Blunt will play a prosthetic makeup artist who has a romantic past with, I believe, Gosling's character. I think I read that right in the report. Sue will play the assistant to the movie star, who is being played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. David DeLeach, who directed Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, recently Bullet Train, will direct the movie. David Leitch, obviously, of course, a famed stuntman himself before he switched up and became a director. So I'm sure this will be treated thoroughly and respectfully with David Leitch and his stunt team that he works with all the time. So yeah, there you go. Stephanie Sue going to take over I'm sure she's going to take over Hollywood very, very soon. She's signed up for a bunch of other projects as well. And now this one. So definitely keep an eye out for her. And if you have not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, shame on you. Go watch it. Moving on to the next movie news item, Lupita Nyong'o is in final negotiations with Paramount, to join A Quiet Place Day 1. The movie is a spin-off of A Quiet Place, or of the Quiet Place movies, and like the title suggests, the movie will follow the beginning of the alien invasion, which was briefly seen in A Quiet Place Part 2. The spin-off will follow a new set of characters, although no actual plot details have been reported on just yet. Michael Ceranosky, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I apologize. It's not. He directed Pig, the Nicolas Cage movie where he's hunting down the people that stole this pig. Will direct the movie off the original script by John Krasinski, who of course directed and wrote the first two movies. There is a third movie in the works, but that won't come out until 2025. A Quiet Place Day 1 currently has a release date for March 8th, 2024. Now we have our first casting announcement, Lupita Nyong'o, who of course will have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever coming out next week. So she's gonna, and obviously great actress, great get for this, and not a stranger to the horror genre. Obviously, she had Us. She had a horror comedy called Little Monsters that I believe is still on Hulu. If you want to go watch that with Josh Gad, she's great. She's all around good. If you can get someone like Lupita Nyong'o in your movie, I think it's a win. Then the final movie news item that we have, at least at the time of this recording, that I wasn't originally going to talk about. And then I saw how much it kind of broke the internet a little bit, and people were having some very, very big thoughts about it, and I needed to talk about it. So during an interview with Variety, the directors Joe and Anthony Russo, I think it was just Joe, because Joe was the only one that was quoted in this particular article. So I don't know if it's part of a bigger article, but the article or the snippet of an interview they were doing, this was Joe Russo talking. They opened up about a couple things. The quick one is that they don't see themselves going back to Marvel anytime soon, saying, quote, "We won't be ready to do anything with Marvel until the end of the decade," end quote. Very, very large amount of time, but the Russos, of course, responsible for big Marvel projects like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War, Avengers: Infinity War, and Avengers: Endgame. So I think they deserve, a big break, because those are four very massive, massive projects, all of which changed the dynamic of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And to their credit, the Russos are currently also dedicated to their own studio, AGBO, which have been partnering up with a bunch of other projects. But they are working with Marvel's parent company, Disney, on their live-action adaptation of Hercules, which leads us to the next bit of news, which if you've been paying attention online, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That one blew up, like I mentioned, and it was all really because people just read the headline. They didn't read the actual article or the quote, the full quote from what he said. So firstly, the Russos, or again, Joe Russo, namely, admitted that the live-action remake will be, quote, a little bit more experimental in tone. They're excited to see, they, of course, being Disney, are excited to see what we can all bring to it in a way that isn't just an reinterpretation of the animated film, end quote. So that was the first quote. And we get it. A lot of the time, the live-action Disney movies rely on everything that made the animated movie so popular, and just rehashing the same stuff over and over again. So to me, that's a good start. yes, we love, like, and are connected to the original animated movies. But that is one of the pitfalls of these live action movies that they had to overcome with the audiences, while also trying to create their own new thing for new audiences that are potentially experiencing these stories for the first time on the big screen or, on Disney Plus. So that's number one. Secondly, and this is the one where everyone lost their minds, because again, they only read the headline and took it as fact. FYI, the new Hercules movie, which we talked about when it broke, is a musical. They are labeling it as a musical. So Joe Russo, I'm going to read the whole. I'm going to read the whole, not tweet. The whole. We're talking about tweets, but I'm going to read the whole quote that he said that everyone only took little bits of. So here's the actual quote. There are questions about how you translate it as a musical. Audiences today have been trained by TikTok, right? What is their expectation of what that musical looks like and feels like? That can be a lot of fun and help us push the boundaries a little bit on how you execute a modern musical. That is the quote that he said. Every headline that I read on Twitter this week took the TikTok line, and that was it. Nothing around it. Obviously trying to make the headlines. They took the TikTok line, and the immediate reaction from people was the movie is based on TikTok or it's going to be inspired by TikTok. That is not what he said. And if I wasn't at work, I would be yelling that. But I'm at work. I don't read that quote as Hercules is going to start doing synced sounds from TV shows and animes and random, clips wherever they find them, or K-pop dances. That's not how I read that quote. Russo was talking, at least how I took it, how they would do a musical that isn't in the traditional sense of just song and dance. Because we all know what a musical is. And like I mentioned in that same article, he said they want to experiment with how they tell the story. He didn't say, yeah, we're doing Hercules based on a TikTok or doing it like a TikTok. No, that's not what he said. That's how people are claiming it, that he said it. That's not what he said. He said he's taking inspiration from TikTok and how to tell a musical with modern audiences, because modern audiences know what a musical is, and they said they want to experiment, so they want to do something different with this movie, which I wholly, truly appreciate, especially considering that he said they don't want to rely on what was the exact wording he said? Because I also don't want to mess that up. Reinterpretation of the animated film. I applaud that. They're doing something different. That's what everyone always says. They want something different, and what they hope that these Disney live action adaptations do something different. And now here we are doing something different. Could he have said something better than comparing it to TikTok? Yes, of course he can. Now, I'm not saying the Russos can't do any wrong. Far from it. But I'm not on the train or trend of suddenly hating or bashing a director because they made one movie that they didn't like, or because they said something that could be misinterpreted or maybe not truly understanding. Russos, they're not, old men. They're not, it's not like someone's asking, old directors or older directors, seasoned directors, veteran directors like Martin Scorsese, hey, how do you feel about a Marvel movie? Like, no, that's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole other thing. But, they're younger guys compared to some of the older seasoned, veteran directors. They know, they have kids. They know what TikTok is. Obviously, he wouldn't be mentioning it if he didn't know what TikTok was. And this happens all the time now. Because I've seen a lot of hate for the Russo brothers all of a sudden when this thing popped up. Everybody and was just waiting for a moment to start bashing on the Russo brothers. This happens all the time now. A director that most, if not all people like, who makes movies that they, like, all of a sudden makes a movie that they didn't like or they thought was bad. And all of a sudden they're a bad director. And all their other movies, you know what? They're really trash. They're not actually good. No. Stop it. You didn't like the movie? That's fine. Don't become insufferable and spread your misery to people who like that movie that you didn't like. Like, yes, I know that's a common thing on Twitter, but don't be that person. And by the way, the Russos are only producing the movie. They're not even directing the movie. Guy Ritchie is directing the movie, who recently did Aladdin for Disney. He's directing the movie, not the Russos. They're asking the Russos because they were doing the story on them and their company. So they obviously asked them about Aladdin. I'm not even excited or that excited for the live action Hercules because I haven't seen the animated movie since I was a kid. And even then, I honestly don't remember that much. I remember like bits and pieces of it, sure. But I would have to go back and rewatch it to get a grasp on my feelings for the movie. And even then, I don't know. And I like Guy Ritchie. I do. I don't like all his movies, but I like a good chunk of his movies. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Sherlock Holmes, even the first one, not the second one. Second one's okay. I'm probably only part of a handful of people that actually enjoyed Rock and Rolla and his King Arthur. King Arthur's not that bad. If anything, the score for King Arthur is really, really good. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. is probably his most underrated movie, as is The Gentleman that came out in 2019. That was really good too. The Wrath of Man was okay. That was the last one he did. I think that was the one. Yeah, that was the one he did last year. I think. Yeah, I think it was last year. It wasn't great. It was fine. It was okay. And then there's Aladdin, which was okay too. I didn't mind his Aladdin. Aladdin was alright. So, going back to the news, the actual news bit, just do the bare minimum. At the very least, click on the actual thing. When you see a headline that makes you question anything about the 2 words that are quoted in that headline, read the whole thing. Chances are the article's not that long, and the site is only doing it for clicks. Because the headlines that we're reading, yes, it does read like, Russos say Hercules is inspired by TikTok. No. It's not inspired by TikTok. It's inspired by the animated movie. They're taking inspiration from TikTok on how to, tell a musical with today's audiences. Because TikTok is obviously the easiest thing because, people digest it and there's a bunch of videos on there. There's probably sound bites of the original Hercules movie on TikTok somewhere. I'm sure. It made me angry. I was talking a little bit with metalcore nerds about it briefly, just very briefly, a little exchange here, just a little exchange on Twitter. And I agree with everything you said. We take everything, we live in a, headline clicky bait society of news. And that's unfortunate that is the case. We do it for the clicks and we do it for the likes. And I know we just have to accept that because that's the way it is, but we shouldn't. And it sucks. Okay, that's it. That's all the news. I got very hot on this podcast for some reason. Not as hot as I want it to be because again I'm at work and I really could have yelled a couple times. I really could have yelled with this movie news item and I didn't. And those are just my quick thoughts. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts as I keep scrolling on Twitter with people's bad takes. But yeah, just read the whole thing. Do the bare minimum. Just click on it. They want you to click on it. Just go ahead and click on it and read the whole thing for yourself and have your own opinion. All right, that is all the movie news items that I have, at least at the time of this recording. Let us move on with the movies that are coming out in theaters and streaming this weekend for all your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, so streaming. We'll start off with obviously the streaming movies that we always do. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. This is of course the biopic basically of Weird Al Yankovic with, I don't know why I'm saying his last name weird, with Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al. Evan Rachel Wood's also in the movie. She's playing Madonna, of course, from Westworld. Rainn Wilson's in there playing Dr. Demento, who is the mentor to Weird Al. And you got a bunch of other big names in there as well. Will Forte, Patton Oswalt, Quintana Bronson from Elementary, a TV show, which is really good. She's playing Oprah in the movie, I guess, from the credits. Jack Black's in there. Weird Al himself is in there. He's playing a different character. He's playing someone else. So that's very interesting. So that's on the Roku channel, which if you have a Roku, you most likely have a Roku channel. So it's playing on there. I heard some decent things about it. I haven't heard a lot, but I've heard some decent things about the movie. Also on streaming on Prime Video, My Policeman. This is based off a book by Beth Earl Roberts. The arrival of Patrick into Marion and Tom's home triggers the exploration of seismic events from 40 years previously. This movie co-stars Harry Styles. This movie made a lot of waves at film festivals. Some good waves, some bad waves. But obviously Harry Styles is the main connection here for that movie. Very mixed reviews that I'm reading for My Policeman. So Prime Video, if you want to go check that out. On Netflix, the big streaming releases, the final streaming release and the big one, Enola Holmes 2. Obviously now a detective for hire, Enola Holmes, played by Millie Bobby Brown, takes on her first official case to find a missing girl as sparks of a dangerous conspiracy ignite a mystery that requires the help of friends and Sherlock himself to unravel. Henry Cavill will, of course, return to play Sherlock Holmes himself, and Helena Bonham Carter is also coming back to play the mother of the Holmeses. I liked the first one. First one wasn't too bad. I really did enjoy it. I thought Millie Bobby Brown was really good, really good in that. And I'm looking forward to Enola Holmes 2. I like the fact that they're doing more of these. I know they're based off a series of books, so I'm sure they can lock down Millie Bobby Brown for those. And anytime we could see Henry Cavill in something, really good, because I think he should be getting more stuff. And obviously he is now, because he's coming back to play Superman. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So there you go. Those are your streaming movies in theaters. We have one more streaming movie, but it's also getting a release in theaters, so I'll get to that in a second. But in limited release and also on VOD, Dear Zoe. This is based off a novel by Philip Beard. When Tess, played by Sadie Sink, and her family suffer an unimaginable loss, she finds support from a surprising source, her biological father, a lovable slacker from the wrong side of the tracks, and the charming but dangerous juvenile delinquent next door. I did not know what this movie was until I was doing this, until I was doing the schedule and saw the trailer. Looks fine. I like Sadie Sink. I think Sadie Sink has a pretty good history, or a pretty good future, not history, a pretty good future in herself with some projects that she can get. Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, by the way, in case you need a face to the name. I'm all for, her doing more stuff, and this, it looks pretty good. So again, it's limited and VOD if you want to go watch that. This is the movie I was talking about in theaters and on streaming on Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus, by the way, has a lot of these movies coming out this year. It's this new thing they're doing, or not this new thing. They did it last year with The Tragedy of Macbeth, where they're releasing their movies on Apple TV Plus and in theaters either at the same time or the week before. So I will try to keep that in mindful with the movies that are coming out. So in theaters and Apple TV Plus this week, Causeway. This stars Jennifer Lawrence as a U.S. soldier who suffers traumatic brain injury while fighting in Afghanistan and struggles to adjust to her life back home. Brian Tyree Henry co-stars in the movie. This is very good. Looks very emotional. Looks very dramatic. And seeing Jennifer Lawrence back on the screens or anything is always good. I know she took a break because she needed it for mental health and everything. Totally worth it. I think we should normalize that for actors, especially ones that blow up very early in their careers like Jennifer Lawrence did with The Hunger Games and Winter's Bone. And yeah, we should do that. They should do that a lot more. And there will be a movie coming out soon about Jonah Hill, and we'll talk about that when it comes out. But this is very good. Very dramatic. Again, Apple TV Plus. You can watch it at home if you have Apple TV Plus, of course, and in theaters as well. The final movie coming out this weekend, Armageddon Time, written and directed by James Gray. This is also kind of a little bit about him, as kind of his own personal coming of age story about his life as well. And this is getting a lot of flack, and this is a very weird movie because this is a movie that will probably be in the Oscar race for Best Picture. And a lot of people have very mixed feelings about it. Very mixed feelings. I heard people that are saying it's really good. People saying that it's very convoluted, or it feels convoluted, and it feels like a story that maybe James Gray shouldn't have told, or at least in this format. So it's very interesting. And it also has Jessica Chastain in the movie playing one of the Trump people. I don't know who she's playing. I don't know if she's playing like his sister or something that apparently James Gray went to college with, or knew from someone he went to college with. So yeah, Armageddon Time. Very telling title. It's not about Armageddon. It's not a post-apocalyptic movie. It's just it's about a coming of age story about a family and the generational pursuit of the American dream, because I think they're Jewish. The other thing is that a lot of the actors in the movie are not Jewish themselves, and James Gray was like, I can do it because I'm a director and I have the right. So yeah, they're probably not the best thing to say. But yeah, there you go. Those are your movies. Armageddon Time, Causeway, and Dear Zoe out in theaters. Also Apple TV Plus for Causeway. Enola Holmes 2 on Netflix, My Policeman on Prime Video, and Weird the Al Yankovic Story on Roku. So that's it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. This ending is going to be a little bit abrupt because I got to go back to work. So thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to check out all the links down below in the description section, notes area, trailers, links, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next week. I'll see you guys online. And yeah, that's it. Sorry for the abrupt ending. Again, I'm at work. I apologize. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. And I'll see you guys next week. Remember, as always, be safe, be good people, and go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movie!